Oh, hi here, and we are back in our life beginnings and always. And I may or may not have forgotten to save last time, but we're back to where we were before. And we were about to respond to Derek's parents, so let us choose a response now. I think we'll just settle for a simple hi.
Hi. Goodbye.
But we can't stay. Thank you for letting Derek visit. Tell your mothers I said hello. Okay. Come on, boys. All four of you now. Let's give the Addams family their house back. Coming!
Yes, Mom.
Cute. Half of the group trotted forward with only a word. They went past Mrs. Suarez and out the door. She watched them go before surveying the situation with the most troublesome one. Nicholas was just bouncing around Derek as if he hadn't even heard his parent. Derek and his mom looked on with identical expressions of exhaustion, tinged with affection. When an opportunity opened up between them, Derek carefully took hold of Nicholas' small hand. Let's go to the car, Nico. You can sit next to me. Thrilled by the promise, Nicholas let out another cheer.
Let's go!
Yeah, let's go to the car. Mrs. Suarez left it there, trusting her eldest, and went to join Mr. Suarez and Jorge. Nicholas gripped Derek's back wristband with his free hand, stretching it outward in his eager attempt to lead his big brother along. Derek stumbled forward with a chuckle, mostly to protect his band from being pulled too far rather than Nicholas actually having the strength to move him. But he made sure not to forget you. Derek said his goodbye from over his shoulder. Bye, guy. Good night. After their prompt entrance and equally quick exit, the whole Suarez family was on their way home. You, however, didn't have to go anywhere. It was late enough that the rest of the day would be spent inside your own house. That was a while ago. Later that night, you found yourself seated near the kitchen counter. Your fingers drummed on the surface as you waited, your gaze trained on the phone. You were waiting on a call tonight, specifically from your cousin Leandra. You didn't want to miss it accidentally. Your uncle, aunt, and Lee used to live many hours away. Your families only saw each other a few times a year for big occasions. A while back, though, they moved and were closer to you than ever before. You now hung out regularly. With school being out, you're positive she's going to want to come over a lot. The two of you were the same age and got along well. She used to be really fond of Elizabeth, too, but now that your sister had become allergic to interacting with her own family, it tended to just be you and Lee who spent time together. You know, I never went through that phase, actually. She was your only friend who was a girl. You weren't a girl yourself, so maybe that was why. But she didn't really have a lot of other friends either. Ma always said that quality was more important than quantity when Elizabeth bemoaned your small social circle. You weren't sure how friendship quality was judged, but nevertheless, you thought that what you had with Lee was good. And then the shrill ringtone announced an incoming call. You jumped before grabbing the receiver and pressing it to your ear. Hello?
Hi!
Hi, Xander. It's Lee. I'm glad it's you. For a second there, I thought you might be one of Elizabeth's friends. There was static on the other end, as if Lee was shifting wherever she was. So, can you believe school's actually over? I thought it'd never be done. Now we don't have to do any of that boring stuff, and we get to hang out wherever we want. Speaking of hanging out... Lee, can you wait a second? Let me just head to my room.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You got up from your seat at the counter. Luckily, the phone was wireless, so you didn't have to worry about any cords tying you down. Your mom's had a rule about not moving the phone unless a call was in progress, which was why you'd been sat by its cradle waiting for Lee to call. You thought that made sense. It was nice to keep everything in its proper place. But now that Lee had called, it was okay for you to go upstairs to your bedroom and talk to her. You made your way up the stairs, smiling. After you had arrived, you shut the bedroom door firmly behind you. You took a seat on your bed. Alright, I'm here.
Cool.
Cool. Hey, did you know the girl's down the street from me has her own phone now? A cell phone. She doesn't have to wait for someone else to stop using it or anything. Wow, really? The thought of someone having a phone that was all their own seemed unbelievable to you. Give it another 5 years, kid. Right? I wish I had one too, but my parents said I couldn't get my own phone until I'm more grown up. I wish they'd change their mind. We could call each other every single day, and no one would be able to stop us. How great would that be? Really great. We could even stay up late talking about whatever we want. Lee sighed thoughtfully into the receiver. At least they said I could have it someday. I can't wait. She sighed dramatically. I bet I'm not gonna get one until I'm all the way in college. Squeezing the phone between your shoulder and your ear, you puffed up your pillow and made yourself more comfortable. It was strange to think of a time when normal school would be over and you'd have to choose whether or not to go to a college. School was such a big part of your life right now. Ain't that the fucking truth? It's really weird, like, graduating from high school and then going into your next phase of life and everything is different now. Like, even if you go straight to college from high school, it's a completely different beast. Everything in your classes came easily to you. You soaked up information as naturally as a sponge absorbed water. You had yet to worry about school being hard for you. You felt a lot of pressure to maintain the high grades you had last year. Your future depended on it. Yeah. You tried to sound engaged, but your mind had decided to go back to school despite the season. Lee knew you too well to be fooled.
What's up?
You sound so spacey. What's up? Just thinking about school. Lee groaned. Are you thinking about how we don't have to think about it because it's summer? That's what I'm doing. Come on, it's too scary not to think about it. No matter how much you wanted to enjoy your free time, the creeping dread of knowing that it would come to an end was always there beside you. I get what you mean. Though, I guess school isn't all the way bad. You can do some good things there. You can just do more when the school's out. Learning new things can be cool. I just wish everyone did okay with how they taught the things, not just some people.
Me too.
But that was all. And that's pretty much everything that's good about school. Okay, point taken.
Alright.
Now, I decree the topic of school is officially closed. We have to talk about the summer first before we start plotting the rest of our lives. I've got some plans already. Like? I'm gonna visit my cousins. You chuckled, of course. What's something you want to do? The first thing that comes to your head. Reading. Let me know if you read anything good, unless it's scary or sad. Sure. You leaned back in your bed, settling in as you continued chatting with your friend. Even though it hadn't been that long since you saw her and you'd be seeing her soon, you found plenty to talk about. For one, the events of the day. You sat up straighter. I was with Cove and Derek today, and we met a new kid. Like, at your neighborhood? Mm-hmm. His parents are visiting family, so it sounds like he'll be around for a little while. I don't know how long. What was he like? Mean. He kept snapping when all we were trying to do was talk to him. He just kept being rude to everyone. But especially Cove. It was awful. I don't think I want to meet him. You want a boy to stay away before even meeting him? That's an unexpected twist. Your cousin was pretty popular with the boys who knew her. She seemed happy enough to have them around until they started to annoy her. Who are you to talk? Cove and Derek are always around. They're both boys, you know. You weren't able to say anything to that. Lee laughed at your silence, deeply amused. You shut your eyes tightly, feeling embarrassed about her reaction. There was a stomping noise approaching your room, heralding the arrival of your irritated older sister. She flung the door open, a frown etched on her face.
Come on.
How long are you gonna hog the phone? Glancing at your watch, you realized that your quick call had gone on much longer than anticipated. Elizabeth held out her hand, the other one lodged on her hip. She noticed the realization on your face. Time's up. Gotta go, I'll see you soon, okay?
Bye.
Okay, see you. Tell Elizabeth and your moms I said hi too. You barely pressed the end call button when Elizabeth whisked the handset from your fingers and began dialing someone new as she strode out of the room. Your mom's voice called from downstairs. Hey, has anyone seen the phone? I'm using it. With that, she shut your door behind you. Silence was left in the wake. That was one way to end your first day of summer break. Sometime later, it had gotten dark outside, and you laid in bed wide awake. Your window rattled all of a sudden, startling you badly. You flinched, staring over at it with furrowed brows. From your vantage point, you saw only the moon and an open sky. You were... Alright, we've already established Xander is very high-strung and easily startled, so he's gonna be scared. What had caused that noise? Swallowing hard, you sat up and moved closer to the window. You could only hope this wasn't a bad idea. To your utter shock, your gaze was met by a pair of familiar ocean blue eyes. Cove? You squinted. Yep, Cove was right outside your window. Your house was very angular, and some parts stuck out further than others, so it theoretically wouldn't be hard to climb around on. Still, just because someone could didn't mean you expected it to ever happen. Cove looked awkward and unstable. His feet were braced against a section of the wall that jutted out, his arms flexing with the effort of keeping him upright. With difficulty, he waved. Then he wobbled, immediately dropping his hand in alarm. Meow. Hi, baby. I will probably cut some of that, but had to take a quick little break to love on Putty Tat, because she woke up from her nap and started squeaking at me. Very, very, not aggressively. What am I looking for? Persistent. Very persistent squeaks. Anyway, with difficulty he waved. Then he wobbled, immediately dropping his hand in alarm. You hurriedly opened the window. Cove scrambled inside, nearly falling flat on his face, but he was able to right himself in the end. He released a breath once he was steady.
Hey.
Hi, Xander. Bro. Is everything okay? What happened? I don't think I'm okay. I know it's late, but I didn't know what else to do. If I rang the doorbell, I know your moms would have answered, and they'd just make me go home. I didn't really want to explain why I was coming over anyway. I don't want to talk about it. Well, besides with you, I mean. But that's why I did that. As unexpected as this was, you were touched. Cove felt like he could tell you what was wrong. I might have tried calling or something, except my dad was on the phone. Cove suddenly looked very cross. Dad, he was talking to my mom. Still is, probably. You raised your eyebrows. Cove had eavesdropped on his parents' phone conversation? You didn't comment on him eavesdropping. There were other things to talk about. Are you going to stay with your mom for a while again? Every year, Cove was sent off to live with his mom for a few weeks. When it happened varied. Sometimes he would go during winter break, but usually he went during the summer. Even though it was hard news when you found out he was leaving, and you missed seeing him for those weeks, you understood. To your surprise, however, he shook his head. That's what I thought too, but no, that's not what they were saying. My dad asked my mom not to have me leave this year. He said she could come stay with us here. You waited for him to continue. He didn't. The conversation abruptly dropped off. You couldn't help but stare at Cove. There was a complicated mix of expressions on his face. Did she say what she would do? She told him she'd come. I know she's coming soon, before school starts. Oh. You had heard Cove talk about his mom a lot over the years. He'd tell you about past memories, or what happened while he was visiting her. Still, it was one thing to hear about someone, and another to actually meet them. Very soon you were going to see Cove's mom in person. You were taken aback by the news, so you could only imagine how Cove felt. You looked over at him. He was pacing across your room, his features painted with red. Before they barely stay in the same room long enough to have lunch. Now we're gonna be all together again? The three of us? After all this time? Just for a few weeks. I know I should probably be happy that they can talk to each other now. I'm still not. Just confused and freaked out. And now I feel really bad for feeling this way. Xander, so... His fist tightened and his eyes became misty. I shouldn't keep getting like this. It's been a long time already, and I'm not a little kid. Though he wouldn't meet your eyes, you knew he was waiting for you to say something. I'm sorry, Cove. You know I'm here for you. The tense line of Cove's shoulders eased. Thanks. It makes me feel a little bit better. Like I'm not freaking out for no reason. A momentary silence fell over the two of you. You marveled at how the day started. You had woken up eager for summer vacation, but now things seem so crazy. The mini debacle with Mr. Holden's gift, the newest addition to the neighborhood being so rude, and as if all that wasn't enough, now Cove's mom would be living with Cove and his dad again. Your whole life was kind of like that, it seemed. Complicated and hard and different. Why couldn't things just get better with time? Xander? The sound of your name, said quietly, pulled you from your thoughts. Cove gazed at you, concerned.
Are you okay?
Who, me? I'm more worried about you. You don't have to forget about yourself for me. I want to listen to you too. Cove grinned reassuringly. It was small and delicate, but you knew it was genuine. He had come here, conflicted and upset, only to end up worrying about you. He really was a great friend. You know, I think I don't want to talk anymore about this. He looked away, his lips thinning into a line, and rubbed at his arms. But I kinda don't want to go back home either. Could I stay a little longer, just doing something else? He appeared equal parts hopeful and vulnerable. How could you possibly turn him? I've got a flashlight and some cards. Are you in? He shifted from one foot to another, hoping he'd said the right thing. Cove perked up in response, a smile appearing on his face. He immediately took a seat on your bed, not afraid to get comfortable in your room. You felt a little better at the sight somehow. You still had a lot of worries, but you were glad he was here. And not just tonight, you were glad he came into your life in the first place. That was a change you'd never want to undo. Who would have thought Cove would mean so much to you? You certainly hadn't in the beginning. You had kept your distance, and so had he. Now you considered him to be one of your closest friends. You joined Cove on your bed, taking a seat across from him. He smiled at you again, but you could tell this time it was half-hearted. He was still easy to read. Though he didn't want to talk about his mom and dad, he must be thinking about what happened and what's about to happen. Okay. Full disclosure. I read the last option here, and my brain's immediate thought was, ah yes, the lesbian option. If you know, you know. But I think we're gonna go for something a bit more neutral, and you hugged him. You moved closer and wrapped your arms around him. It wasn't much, but you hoped the contact helped even a little. Cove froze up, startled. After a moment, his arm came up, and he returned your hug. The two of you remained like that for some time. He might have mumbled something to you, but it was too quiet to tell what it was. When you pulled back, his expression had softened into something more natural. Conversation was stilted and broken, often by silence at first. Then both of you were able to get into your usual candor. As your secret hangout session stretched on, you thought that you truly wanted to keep having moments like this with him. You hoped today would never come when life decided that the two of you would have to part ways. And you knew Cove felt the same. You opened your tired eyes, groaning as they adjusted to the bright light that was streaming through your window and warming your dark brown skin. With a loud yawn, you rolled away from the sunlight and blinked a couple of times, clearing the sleep from your eyes before realizing with a start that it was actually morning. You couldn't remember even falling asleep. Cove had crept through your window during the night, the two of you spent time together trying not to wake your parents. You must have fallen asleep while you were hanging out, but couldn't put a finger on exactly when. You wondered how late Cove had stayed before heading home. You rubbed your face and yawned again, contemplating whether you should get out of bed and get ready for the day or stay snuggled up for a little while longer. Until your gaze landed on an instantly recognizable mop of pale green hair, and you bolted upright and gasped in surprise. He never left. He was still there in the morning. You froze. Your muscles refused to move an inch, and your eyes widened as you stared at Cove's sleeping form in absolute shock. If your moms found out he had slept here the entire night, you would both be in big, big trouble. Realizing quickly that you needed to get Cove out of here before your moms or Elizabeth walked in and found him, you willed your body to get a move on and swung your legs over the side of the bed. He shook his shoulder. After giving him a firm shake on the shoulder, Cove's eyes flew open and he woke with a start. He scrambled out of the way as he abruptly jumped to his feet before almost losing his balance and falling back down. He recovered just as quickly and faced you indignantly.
Hey!
What was that for? Shh! What? The situation dawned on him too before he even finished the word. Cove blinked at you a couple of times, his eyes growing in panic at some thought that only he could hear settled in his mind.
Oh my god!
Oh my god, I fell asleep! You weren't exactly sure what to do as you watched Cove pace your room looking around frantically. Cove stopped mid-step, and you wanted to ask what he had been searching for, but guessed he wouldn't know the answer to that himself. Despite that, he hadn't calmed down completely. The atmosphere was still frazzled. We're gonna be in so much trouble. You could feel your throat grow tight, the air struggle to hit your lungs as you thought about all the possible punishments your parents might have given you. Summer was just beginning. You couldn't imagine having to stay cooped up in your house for the rest of it. Now it's just barbaric. Letting out a heavy sigh, he ran a hand through his hair in exasperation. He couldn't look at you again as he spoke. I'll see you later. You were confused by how all of this had played out, but hoped that was true. Bye. At that, you were suddenly wrapped up in a tense embrace. As panicked as he was, this seemed to be something he couldn't forget before leaving. Aww. Thanks. Again. You're a good friend, Xander. He firmly whispered the words into the top of your shoulder. But you were let go before you had a chance to respond or even fully react. In a matter of seconds, he had climbed over your bed and opened the window. A cool breeze rolled off the ocean, fluttering through Cove's hair and filling the room with its salty scent. Cove anxiously stepped out onto the ledge. You wished him luck. Good luck, and please be careful. He gulped, thinking of how far a fall would be if he were to miss a single step. You weren't sure if he heard you or not, but he kept going along, one foot in front of the other, with increasing speed until his form disappeared out of sight. You stuck your head out the window as far as it could go to try to keep watching. He walked the full length of the ledge before jumping down to the top of the garage, then lowering himself onto the fence. From there, he finally dropped down to the ground. He grinned at the sight of a successful climb. He ran off towards his house without stopping, disappearing behind the side of another building. You had to admit you were pretty impressed at how doable he made that look. With a little sigh, you reclosed your window. Deciding there was nothing more you could do, you hopped off your bed and got ready to head downstairs for the day. You checked yourself in the mirror. You certainly looked like you had just woken up with your black hair sticking up all over the place. Taking a comb from your bedside table, you attempted to fix and smooth down some of the messy strands. You took the stairs, slowly attempting to mask your face into a look of innocence. You were sure that someone would have come into your room if they had heard anything strange, but you couldn't be too careful. You had to play it cool. When you stepped into the living room, Elizabeth was there, tapping her finger on the counter. Good morning, Elizabeth. She looked you over immediately, her eyes squinting at the grating.
Why?
Are you being so weird? Immediately. You hadn't even done anything. Your big sister never missed a beat, unfortunately. You stopped in your tracks, heart pounding in your chest as you wondered if she could see the sweat that was building up around your temples. Xander? You clammed up. She began to smile, thinking whatever you were hiding was bigger than she assumed.
Come on.
What's going on? Nothing? Further suspicious squinting occurred as she waited for her something. But ultimately she rolled her eyes, and you weren't sure if you were in trouble or not. She didn't seem to care enough to dig any further. Whatever. And then she walked straight out the front door, letting it slam shut behind her, and you let out a brief sigh. Elizabeth went out most days to hang out with her friends from school around town. Today you were extra glad for it, though you were also grateful she hadn't left the house any sooner and risked running into Cove. It looked like you were getting away with that. Breakfast was eaten in peace, and alone. Your moms were both out by the time you'd gotten up. They had left you a serving of food from the breakfast they had made. Hash browns, an omelet, fruit salad, and there were a few sausage links. You passed on some parts because they weren't things you liked. You appreciated that there was variety in the meals your moms made. The parts you did have were tasty. The day lazily drifted by at home, and eventually your parents returned. You pulled open the fridge again, lingering in the frosty air for a moment or two before grabbing a bottle of ice-cold water, taking a long drink. It was a perfect, balmy summer afternoon. You had decided to head outdoors and find something to do. You hadn't decided what that something was just yet, but you were sure something would pop up to occupy your time. As you were heading out the front door, you paused for a moment. You hadn't seen Cove since he had left that morning, and you couldn't help but think about what had happened to him. Would it be bad to go over to his house right now, or to call him to check in? You had stepped out of your house, still stuck in an internal debate with yourself, when a voice caught your attention.
Hi.
Hi, Xander. Confused, you looked over to where an unrecognizable woman was waving at you, a friendly smile plastered on her face. You racked your memory for where you might have seen her before, but nothing came to mind. Not your school, or from the country club your moms took you to? You had absolutely no idea who this woman was. The woman crossed the road towards you, and you were a little unsure whether you should stay put or go back into the house and lock the door. Oops, I'm sorry. Was that presumptuous? I've heard about you, but you have no idea who I am, do you? You shook your head, and she removed her sunglasses to reveal sparkly ocean blue eyes. All of a sudden, she seemed a little more familiar. My son lives here, and my ex too. With a bent smile, she lifted a hand to point at the condo across the street from your house. She was Cove's mom. You didn't know why you hadn't realized sooner. Now that you'd gotten a good look at her. She seemed nice. Her attitude was friendly, and it seemed like she was genuinely happy to meet you. No matter your thoughts on her, you still felt taken aback that she had appeared here so suddenly. Cove mentioned she was coming, but you hadn't gotten the impression it would be the very next day. She extended a hand again, this time for you to take, and you studied the manicured fingers in front of your face and the assortment of bracelets that dangled from her wrist. I'm Kyra Priest. You can call me Kyra. You shook her hand. You reached out and took her hand, and she shook yours firmly, grinning wide. You already know my name?
That I do.
That I do. Cove's mentioned you to me before. It's nice to officially meet you, Xander. Cove talked to you about his mom. He hadn't mentioned how he said things about you to her. Nice to meet you, too. She smiled at you fondly, her eyes crinkling at the corners. The sound of a door opening and closing caught both of your attentions, and when you turned toward the sound, it was to find Cove exiting his house, his eyes skimming the ground. Considering just how tall he had grown, you kind of figured his mom also would have been tall, but she was much more on the short side for an adult anyway. Cove's height must have come from his father.
My baby.
There you are! I thought you were going to keep me standing out here all day. You tried to catch Cove's eye as he walked towards you, but his gaze was firmly fixed on the sidewalk. When he finally crossed the road and looked up, he gave you a pitiful look. After the way he had acted last night, you knew he must be feeling pretty mixed up about this. You tried to wordlessly express that you understood. Cove and I are heading into town to grab something to eat, while the snore's at work. Kyra beamed at Cove and ruffled his hair, which only seemed to upset him more. You assumed the snore she was talking about was Mr. Holt. Hey, you should come with us, Xander. I'd love to get to know you better. And I'm actually gonna cut it there, because I forgot how long these in-between sections are in this game, and we are over time, even with the cat interruption cut out. So, thank y'all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please leave a like, comment if you have something to share, subscribe if you have not yet. If you would like to support me financially, by all means, go check out my Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you can get early access to all of my videos. And for everyone else, I just hope to see you again in the next one.